Hello, everybody. It's July 4th here in America, and the topic today is independence. It's great to see all of you because we weren't really sure how many people come, being a national holiday. But the topic independence, I want to stress, is an international one and a private one. Artists, it's all about being independent. But before I go further, tell you a little about my get up here, how I feel about this. I just wanted to shout out to Zoe from Mauna Museum, Joey Zaza, and maybe Tommy might want to say a few words. I'm not sure, but Zoe, do you want to say a few words before we start the session?
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Joey Zaza. I'm a co-founder, curator for the Museum of Wild and Newfangled Art. In October, we will be having an exhibition of Techspressionism work. That exhibition is going to follow Tommy Mintz's work, and we have an open call that will be available for the next 2 weeks that you can send into either at the museum's page at mauna.org or also at the Techspressionism website. So you should be able to find it, and that call is open to anyone. All mediums, all media is allowed. Any kind of wild and newfangled work that you are making, somewhat related to the Techspressionism sort of concept. We're probably going to be a little bit more lenient even than the regular kind of Techspressionism curation that has been on. So feel free to send into that. We will also be doing NFT sort of release. So it's an exhibition of art and the sales are optional. So if you'd like to be a part of that, we're happy to partner with you on any kind of like blockchain or platform to try to promote and sell your work, but that's all optional. So we're just looking to exhibit good old fashioned art and have a good fun time and get the word out there about Techspressionism. So that's all for me. I'll put into the chat in here for people who are on the Zoom. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Yeah, Tommy, did you want to say a few words before we get going on the theme of independence today?
Thanks, Roz. I was not planning on it.
Okay.
But now that you asked, and give me the microphone, I'll take a moment to say, I actually think it'd be interesting to flip the script and think about this as Interdependence Day and how interesting it is that here we all are joining together to, strengthen our sense of meaning maybe through this interdependence. And independence is great in some ways, and so is interdependence. I think it's part of a, spectrum of experiences that I think are all valid and important. So on that note of confusion, I'll turn the mic over, Ross, and turn mine off. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. I totally agree. As you know, I'm usually not too reticent to speak out here. And so I am going to be speaking out about what's going on in our own country for a minute. But we are an open, independent, interdependent group here. I mean, everybody has their opinions and their beliefs. And I also feel, I wanted to start with the words like here in the US, the Constitution, it starts with we, the people. And, that's a really important fact. And I feel rights are really, I'm very distraught. I feel it is a time to speak out, and I'm speaking out that I'm very, very upset about what's going on in this country, and especially with the Supreme Court and what's going on with Donald Trump. And the reason I'm wearing this is because in this country, nobody, kings or queens, are not allowed. And we don't believe in that. We do not. And we got to fight like hell, man. And I am. We got to bring everything we can to the table. And Heather Cox Richardson today put out a wonderful piece where she said, whatever you do, whether you plant plants or you're an artist or you're a writer, it is time to speak out. At some point, it's things are worth speaking out about, and we must. So I just encourage everybody to however you do it in your art. My art happens to be politics seem to be in there all the time, and theology. So it may not be, you don't want to change your work, but I'm just inspiring everyone to speak out, and not only for America, but for your own country, where you think you need to speak out for people's freedoms through your work or whatever you do. Maybe change the color to blue of your work, and you do a series right now. I mean, I'm just putting it out there. I also say that the wonderful thing about art and the word independence is that we have freedom, and especially in this country still, to put out what we feel in our work. And And I just encourage all of us to do that. It's a solo position, but it's also a democratic one. And I have to say that I think the greatest works of art, even though they might be done by one individual, has that universal, like think of the Pieta or just Guernica or so many pieces, where the greatness of the work is that it has a universality that everyone can feel in their hearts, you know, somewhere. Okay, with that said, I don't want to be the bully pulpit here, but I've taken my crown off and I'm just one with the masses, all of you who I really care for. This is such a great group. I love that we have so many recorded sessions. Hats off always to Colin Goldberg for starting this group. I've said this before, but I just want to say, I think the fact that these Zooms are recorded and our interviews, and so for the last years since 2019, I guess, I don't know when we started exactly, but you know, they're all recorded on Zoom, and I think they are a wonderful place for people to see what artists are doing with art and technology. And the bar's been pretty high here. It's been very impressive. And the warmth and the friendship we've generated. I mean, I never thought I'd be collaborating with a woman from Iran, Eugene, and that was so great.
And
Anyway,
shout out to Davo, who's not here. We all hope he comes back, but it was his idea to record these sessions to begin with. And that was really the birth of the YouTube channel. So
yeah.
we love you, Davo. Hope you come back soon.
Yes, absolutely. We miss you, Davo. Hope you'll be back. Okay, so today's theme is independence. Thanks everybody for being here. And we will start with, I think, Cynthia, you put together a few pieces. If Renata, if you show up. Oh, Renata's here. Renata, you weren't here for a minute, so we just got a few other people on board. But would you start, Renata? Because she's the one who contacted me first. Then we'll go to Cynthia. Renata, you're going to keep yours about 10 minutes, I think, right?
Yes, that's right.
Welcome. And then we'll go to Lee, and we'll open it up so all of us can chat. And maybe like we usually do, we just wait till the presenters finish, and then we open it up. I mean, you can certainly say things in the chat, but we'll just open it up for all of us to discuss things. And if you don't have art, it's a great day to discuss what independence does mean.
And if you're not presenting, please mute your microphones if you don't mind.
Okay, now, Colin, do I need to do anything, or is Renata, you're all set?
I'm all set.
Roz, you're muted.
Oh, everybody mute. That's all I said. Thanks.
Can everybody see?
No.
Yeah.
We
No.
just see you, Renata. We don't see anything else.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't share my screen in the correct manner. Can we go to the next person, and I'm going to figure this out and then come back, please?
Sure, that's fine.
Thank you.
Cynthia, can you share with us? Will you?
Well, I hope so. I have to say, one of the issues that I'll point out to everybody, because I had this the other day, is that the Zoom interface has now changed when you're recording. So the button that says leave meeting, and next to it, it says okay. And it looks like if you click it, you're gonna be booted out. But really, you're supposed to say, okay, I think I'm gonna hit okay. And I think it prevents you from sharing. And it blocks a lot of things. So anyway, so I'm going to try sharing.
Cynthia, do you mind reporting where you're coming in from? There are a few people here who may not have been here before, and it's nice that we have such a broad spectrum here. And it's just, I think it's important that people know where you're.
Yes, I am coming from New Haven, Connecticut. I'm not originally from Connecticut, whatever, and I just unblurred my background so that people can see that once upon a time I was a painter. You know, there's a big painting from 1985. That was like the star painting, the one that was in Arts Magazine and kind of published all over the place. And, you know, people offered to buy it, but like, this is the only one of the few that, no, I'm keeping. So, I think I'll go back to blurring my background because it's a little distracting. And I'm going to share, I have a few things to share, so I'm going to try to share the whole desktop over here. Is this working now, the share?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just quickly,
Yes,
um,
it's working.
this is from, we had a wonderful roundtable on art and science. This is a piece that I did with Andrea Miller, who's a scientist at the University of Rhode Island. Well, she just graduated the master's degree. So I just want to mention to everybody, go watch that roundtable. So you don't need to see this. And in terms of independence, what I wanted to bring up was the influence in my work right now of Lee Krasner and the fact that she went into her old work and she tore it up. And I just found this online 2 seconds ago when I knew I was presenting. So these are not necessarily, you know, what really influenced me is last year before SIGGRAPH, which was in LA. We went to the LA County LACMA, LA County Museum, and I was with a couple other early digital people, Copper Gilloth and Jane Veeder. And there was not this one, but there was a big red painting that, you know, if you're on Facebook, you saw a picture of us in front of it. And I was like, yes, that is independence. So when you're talking about independence, it's like, do away with the precious object. Who cares? If you can take something and tear it up and make it into something, you know, more meaningful and take you to the next level, that it's really great. And I have to say that Lee Krasner is one of the women artists who influenced many of us. You know, I come from the generation where I went all through grad school, undergrad and grad school with all male teachers in my field in art. And it's a different story. I wish this were not changing. Oh, okay, forget it. I'm going back to this because it's moving and distracting. And one day I was running around the Upper East Side galleries when the galleries were in the 50s with some friends. And I said, I really want to go see the Lee Krasner show. And they're like, eh. And I walked into the gallery and there was this little old lady sitting there. And I thought, what's this little old lady doing sitting here on a Saturday afternoon? And then I went, oh, you know. So I got to meet Lee Krasner, and she was showing this work. So, you know, those kind of, and my friends, you know, they didn't get to meet her. So this is partly a tribute to that independent way of thinking. So on to what I've been doing. These I think I've shown before. These are small pieces that I was already doing when I got to LA and saw. This is a very small one that's cut up. And if I can enter full screen here, I think you can see it a little better. So cutting up and then drawing on it and going in and out. So this is just to give context. I think this is the one I sent Tommy. This is actually a very small print that I did not draw on. And this is a working in progress. One of the pieces that I thought was going to be a finished piece, but it never quite made it. So I started cutting it up. And this is the piece I posted on Instagram lately. Recently, that's going to be printed in the LA Center for Digital Art in their reboot, and we'll see how it comes out. So this, I can't say enough for the good things about the Tuesday co-working group. Everybody who's in that group lived through the pain of this with me. There was one day when I didn't know what to do, so I just put up a big piece of paper and I started drawing, and that's a serratium, a kind of plankton, and there's the serratium drawing in here with that other piece that had never quite come together. So that group has been really fabulous. Independence. So this is what I wanted to end with, and the group told me this side shot works better than a real shot. So I ordered something from Target, and somebody in the distribution line just made a mistake. And instead of sending me $40 worth of cedar chips to keep the moths away from my clothes, the moths are probably in there eating right now, sent me about $120 worth of, well, let's say, these blocks. And so I'm accepting the gift. And I thought this is a sign that I should be working on these blocks. And so I started ripping and collaging on, and this one's very shiny. That's why the side view is important, because the only thing I had on hand was some golden varnish. So head on, I was told by the group this week, you don't really get the effect. I reshot it in dimmer light. It's, this is probably closer in terms of the colors, but I am now going to try to do every week. I have 12 of these little blocks of ripping up, and obviously I tinted the varnish and painted on it, and experiment with painting, and it's, it's independence, right? You can do whatever you want with it. So that's what I wanted to show for today. I'm going to stop the share, and I do want to say again that these are times when these are very trying times. So thank you, Roz, for pointing that out. And whatever we do, some of us will do it through our art. Some of us will do it in other ways. Some of us will just do what we can in terms of making monetary political donations and then talking it up with our friends. Every single thing counts. Okay.
Cynthia, thank you so much. That was really great. I love seeing what you're doing, and I've enjoyed, and I think the others too have enjoyed hearing about this collaboration that some of you've been doing. It's really cool. Yeah.
I want to encourage people to join, and if that time doesn't work for you, we had said at the outset that if enough people want a different time, I think Cynthia Donato's on here, and she and I were the ones who got it started. We'd probably would be willing to go on a few times to help people get a different time of day going, or a different day of the week.
Great. All right. We'll save questions for later. If people want to ask Cynthia something, we'll come back to that. Renata, are you ready now? Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yes, thank you, Roz.
Sure. Make sure everybody mutes. And you can put comments in the chat.
Right. Happy July 4th to all the American Techspressionists who are out there. I'm coming in from Lion's Head, Canada, and I put the American flag on my opening because I think it's just such a terrific design. I have gained a lot of freedom from working digitally. I've solved a lot of artistic problems that way, but now I really feel I've found a new kind of independence in terms of the dimensions of a picture. And I have been working in a 4D space. So this is a painting that I put into the space, and I photographed it from within the space, and it's surrounded by 3D objects, which I get from a particular kind of software. The reason I started using this technique was I needed to make an animation or a moving image work for the work The Rocket Escapes the Flytrap, which is in the Brooklyn show, and some of you may know it from the poster. So I dragged 2 copies of the work into the 3D space, put the objects you see tumbling through the air here, the teapots, the rings, the branches, and I photographed from below. So I'm looking up into the space, and of course, I could animate this image fairly easily in the way that I normally animate. But the 3D space gives me the option of being a moving camera. And so I'm going to zoom in on this image. Well, first I'm going to say what you see on the right-hand side are the 3D objects, and what you see on the left-hand side are some of the 3D objects in front of a flat quasi-flat work. But what's amazing is the dimensionality of the work. The brush strokes, which are custom brushes that I make, they seem to come out at the viewer. It's very difficult to tell what is foreground, what is midground, and what is background. And the clarity of the image too. So let's see, zoom. I'm going to zoom in 150%. You can see really how clear all the lines are in the custom brushes. And again, the white shapes are the 3D shapes, but the background shapes in the painting seem to push forward through the picture plane. And this is a problem, or something that has preoccupied artists since before the Renaissance. The idea of recession into depth, the idea of, let's see, the idea of a picture there, having a particular, almost like a stage. And I'm really excited by this. This is really new for my work, to be able to travel through a 3D space. Here I am, I'm the camera, and I'm moving through the space. And I haven't worked out exactly how to use this kind of footage, but I am going to edit it so that those pauses aren't in it, because those pauses are the way that the software is guiding me through the space as I'm being the camera. And I call this the canyon effect, where I have two identical paintings on one side of each other and my shapes in the middle. Now, where do these shapes come from? They come from something called the Everything Canvas, which is free software, and I will drop the link into the chat. And it's made by an animator. He's Irish, he lives in Los Angeles, and there are thousands of, or at least 1,000 images of objects that you can employ. Here I am at the base of one of my works, looking straight up. And again, there's tremendous distortion, and yet there's tremendous clarity. There's no loss of resolution in these images. And this painting reminds me, when shot from below like this, it reminds me of Mannerism, which was a movement that took place after post-Italian Renaissance, where human form was elongated and distorted, and you have that same kind of distortion here. It's like standing at the bottom of a gigantic billboard and shooting straight up without any loss of sharpness. So here's one of the finished works, and what I like about this is how the shapes in the foreground echo some of the movement and shapes in the composition behind. So, for example, this movement of gramophones at the top, the beige shapes echo the composition behind it, and then the teapots on the left, they take your eye right out of the picture and off to the side. I'm also really happy with the shape in the right hand foreground, because it does look like it's actually farther out, but it's part of the painting in the background. So wonderful play and ambiguity. Where is your eye going? And this one I got from one of my paintings, where I used some AI components, and I had given the AI the direction robot love in the time of Leonardo. And I got back these kind of cyber cop robots. And again, my brush strokes in the bottom look like they're coming right out of the painting and touching those green shapes at the left, which are in fact 3D shapes. But again, this amazing dimensionality. It's almost like the painting is moving out of its frame. And one more example of a picture with the shapes photographed from the side and below a little. And I'm going in really close now to show you that the 3D shapes retain their integrity, even if you blow them up enormously. So the bottom right, the white, that's one of those floating loops, and you can just see how it doesn't lose any clarity. This is one other view of the painting I just showed you. So again, depending on where I photograph from, I get different effects. And this is the very center. This is the very center of that painting. So you can see the little head in the middle. And when it's blown up this big, you can see that the head is actually the brush. So I'm painting with that head, and I get these sinuous tube-like satiny pink forms. I'm really happy with how much clarity there is. And also you can see to the right of the head, the exuberance of those splatters. No detail is lost in this space. It's really, really exciting for painters. Also, I'll just show you how I could make a picture out of what you just saw by cropping and adding. And then here's a more traditional, what I've been doing prior to the 3D space. And it's good, but I'm much happier with this because, again, you have this terrific ambiguity between the planes and also the great variety in the types of strokes. For example, the bottom left, you see this almost looks like oil paint squeezed out of a tube, or a very vigorous brush scrubbing technique, but that's just a custom brush. And on the top left, you see this very, very clear custom brush that has so much dimensionality. I'm really happy, and I'm thankful that I could share this with you today. So thank you, and I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Cynthia. That was great. Wow, that is so exciting. Yeah,
Thanks.
wonderful presentation.
That was Renata. You said Cynthia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Renata. And yours was as well, Cynthia. But yeah, that was great. And again, we'll save our questions. There are quite a few comments in the chat. Let's go on to Lee. Did you say something? You wanted to share something?
Sure, yeah, I'd love to. But first, I'd like to say everybody's stuff has been so beautiful. Thank everybody for sharing. They're gorgeous. Renata, those purple ones, I want one. I don't have the money to afford one, but I'd love to find a way because it's beautiful. I'm just looking for my share screen button. Aha. Okay. So, I think this is screen number 2. Is that working? Do you see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, it's interesting what Cynthia was saying before about independence from being locked into making images or being locked into anything. And as you know, I often shoot the same things over and over again. And I really like the process sometimes instead of just the actual work. And this is I can't seem to can you still see it? Because now I'm trying to get back to the screen. Okay, so I'm hoping you can still see the screen.
Yes,
Okay,
I can
so,
see it.
I know it's not the same image. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm going to start all over again. I apologize. I'll be really quick here. So often I've become kind of independent of. Am I still sharing the screen? Oh God, I'm so sorry. Actually, you know what? Let me try to
You're not
get
sharing the screen. You're not sharing. We're back at our multiple view. Do you want to go back in and share?
Okay, so yeah, so I think I can go. All right. My problem was I was trying to be fancy and I shouldn't be fancy. Here, I think this is gonna work. Let's see, share screen. Here we go. Okay, so
Yes, yes, yes.
this is a boring picture of my backyard. Under my stairs, there's a ladder and these grills. I don't even know where they come from, but I've been collecting them and finding more and more of these grills and building materials. And there's a roll of stainless steel, which has slowly been unraveling. And in talking about independence, I felt like I want to get away from the images that I've been shooting so much of, like the one that is it an angel or is it a goddess of liberty, but it looks like something with wings, or the forest. I always shoot the forest. And I was like, okay, well, what about this thing? I've been pretty amazed by this because of the vertical lines and the the busyness of it. And I do like shooting things that are sort of leftover and detritus and garbage. And lately, because of what we've been seeing, we see a lot of broken construction things or blown up construction things. So I've been like, what can I do with this stuff? And it's been a bit of a fixation for me lately. And these aren't all of them. I got probably 1,000, but I just pulled a bunch quickly. You can see here there is a ladder and the steel. And I find the amazing part of the steel is that every day I look out at the colors of the sky and I'm like, okay, what colors is the steel going to look like? And sometimes I get this pink and I'm like, where did this come from? And I get really excited by different pieces of it. And, like all of my pieces, they're really big. They're like, 10 feet long. And I played a lot with this idea of rust and the grills and the vertical lines and the horizontals and sort of the busyness of it that I could create out of this refuse and blown up pieces and destroyed things that really could go to the recycling or could go somewhere, but have been like left behind by builders or left behind by God knows who. And so I've just been kind of like adopting these abandoned things. And I feel like like talking about liberty or independence, I feel like a freedom that I can create with these abstract pieces that nobody's going to look at and say, oh, that's an angel, or oh, that's a goddess, or oh, you're in the forest again. I mean, I don't know what these are. And sometimes I look at these. I actually was thinking about submitting one of these to Tommy recently for the show in the museum, but then I chickened out and I went with something pretty. But I love the harshness of these. And when I look at these, I mean, I've been spending a lot of time, like a lot of people have, looking at the destruction that's going on around the planet, specifically in a place that's very close to me. And I look at this horrible destruction, and people had homes, and now it's just bricks and steel bars and useless things. So I'm trying to give them some kind of dignity or some kind of a bit of wow still and a little bit of magic still. So that's been kind of my my latest obsession. You can see here there's like, it's not just steel and bars, but there's even boards of wood, there's gyprock. It's all this stuff that people have ignored, and I really could just bundle it up and send it off to the garbage, but I've been making this my muse for the past month. And I feel like it's been giving me a little bit of independent creativity. And like, look at this one. This little piece in the middle is the bar of steel, and it's got like these blues and these skin tones, and sometimes there's still junk like the rusty stair or this giant pot. I actually know somebody brought the pot over to do an experiment with some biochar, and which is really good. It's a whole different story. It takes carbon out of the atmosphere, but he left the pot, and I'm like, well, okay, that was really environmental, dude. But now it's become part of this composition, like it's not still life, but it's some kind of something that I've just been finding that the freedom to get away from any images. And it's funny, we often talk about Pollock or Lee Kasner, and I definitely feel like when I'm doing a piece like this, I'm so not thinking about content at all. I figure out my brush stroke before I do it, and then this will take like a 4-minute exposure. And so for those four minutes, I've got like a little movement, and it's going through my bones, my spine, my breathing, everything to get this done. It's just so freeing and liberating. And so I just wanted to share this with everybody, and thank you for letting me indulge with everybody. I really appreciate your time, and I love this group, and I'm glad that I can actually share these things with people who can sort of understand my weirdness. And I don't know how many I put here, but I think that it'll go on for way longer than it should. Oh no, it's probably right at the end of this, but thank you so much. And maybe on to some other people. How do I stop sharing? Stop sharing. Thanks so much, everybody.
Great. Whoa, man, another great salon here.
Mhm.
I have to say, as dark as these times may seem to so many of us, I get so inspired with this group and also with other works of art I see occasionally. That just, the beauty and the thought and the complexity and of the work going on here. It's the power of you just cannot underestimate the power of the imagination and how beauty, which is truth. I know I sound like Keats, but I'm an idealist and I believe that. But it's so inspiring. We can still make things and we can still make people feel things that are just so wonderful. I mean, this has been a really great presentations, all of you. Ali, that was really fantastic. Does anybody else want to present? We're coming up at 1:15. Colin, would you like to present?
Yeah, I'll
Great.
present really quickly. So thanks, Roz, for your service, taking the meeting, and appreciate all the shares so far. So I wanted to kind of frame this idea of independence in a different way, not necessarily in terms of the content of my work, but more of the idea of artists being independent in terms of financial independence, which lends itself towards being able to continue doing the things that we love to do, or allocate more time to doing the things that we love to do. So when I went to college, I was a painting major. I was a studio art major with a painting concentration, and ended up in New York City in 1994, which was really the year that the web became sort of mainstreamed, and was involved doing CD-ROM development at the time. And I was, I consider myself very lucky to have been in New York at that time. And, I remember the day when the owner of this little multimedia shop in the East Village, it was called Nomad Multimedia. It was basically like four guys, and he came in and said, there's a new way to distribute multimedia globally. It's called the World Wide Web. We got to get in on this thing. And since then I've been building websites. It's my 30th year of building websites, and that has allowed me some degree of independence as far as being able to maintain a studio practice alongside commercial work. And in that year, in 1994, I came up with a brand for myself called Everbeta, which the idea is it was my first website, but it was also my first website was basically a portfolio of the stuff I did in college, but also design work that I did in internships. And so I've always been, an artist and a designer. And I remember going to see a show at the Guggenheim by an artist and architect named Zaha Hadid, who I found this show extremely inspiring because there were automotive designs, there were buildings, and then there was wall art, sculpture. It just crossed all boundaries, and this particular individual did not have to. It didn't seem like she had the need to define herself as one thing, and I thought that was very liberating, because I always thought I have to box myself into this category, not let the art people know that I do this commercial design and essentially advertising work. In terms of building commercial websites, that's what it boils down to. And on the flip side, the advertising and design people loved the fact that I was an artist, because I would come up with ideas for them and stuff like that. So it's interesting, that duality. But I jumped right in with Everbeta. One thing I liked about that was that I could create the logo with ASCII characters on a Mac. Option 5, Option S will create an infinity sign and then the beta symbol, which shortly after establishing the website, I branded myself and tattooed it on my shoulder at a place called Cappuccino and Tattoo on 11th Street. I don't think it's still there anymore. But you know, that kind of that brand has been the studio that I work under. It's basically has been my little apartment, a basement, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And having gelled those two things together kind of allows me to operate in a way that I'll make the money from commercial work and then spend it on my art habit, so to speak, and it all ends up being under the same umbrella. So um, I always encourage young people who are following the artist path to use these skills like Photoshop, Illustrator, other things, and find a way to apply them commercially. So instead of waiting tables or doing something completely unrelated to what they want to, be doing ultimately, it's something that is synergistic. And to sort of illustrate this, I just wanted to show a little backstory of the piece that I'm going to be showing in the Brooklyn exhibition. I'm just going to share my screen here real quick. So the body of work that this piece comes from is called Metagraphs, which is these digital drawings that I started in 1999. So most of these were done in either 1999 or 2004. And the way that I ended up doing vector-based work is that I had a friend from college whose brother was a graduate student, a PhD computer science student at NYU, and he got me access to the lab, and he explained to me, vector-based work is defined mathematically, so you could zoom in infinitely and not ever see any pixels, which I thought was interesting. And he said, so at some point, if you want to ever produce these large, you can, and there's going to be no loss of resolution. So I started drawing almost exclusively in Illustrator at that point, and all these are done in Illustrator. This is the piece I'm going to be showing in Brooklyn, which is called Circuit. That was done that was drawn in 1999, and basically, all of these works were drawn in New York City and Lower Manhattan, East Village, so they were definitely urban inspired, and you can kind of see zooming in. There's some detail in there, and down the road, I started animating the pieces over the course of the pandemic. One kind of funny story with these is I was living in Boston for a little while, and I went down Newbury Street, which is where all the sort of hoity-toity galleries were, and I brought in my work, and they sort of thumbed their nose at it and said, we don't show anything to do with digital work or computers. This is probably like 2001, and so what I did was there was these concrete benches in front of the storefronts, and I set up shop there, and I printed these out on my little inkjet and sold prints on the street right in front of the gallery. I actually sold a bunch of them, which was gave me a lot of satisfaction, for very little money, but still. And then this kid wandered by, and he was sort of like became my assistant. Anyway, it was a funny story. So these are basically the NFTs, which were generated from the pieces. They were all drawn in layers in Illustrator. So I ended up animating them and creating this sort of soundscape for them. And some of them have been sold already. One of them is going to be in this Mountain show that I'm leaving it up to the curators to select. But what I've been doing over the course of, since these works were composed is trying to figure out a way to actually monetize them and sell them. And NFTs are one way. This piece I showed at the Southampton Arts Center, and had the fortune of an art consultant walking through there and seeing the piece, and she brought it into this show at Hearst Corporation in New York City, and they ended up buying the work. And part of that, what convinced her, what was interesting to her, was that it's actually an augmented reality piece. So I took the still images, and I used a program or an app called Artivive to link them to the animations. So since then, and this is all kind of in the theme of financial independence, I was able to put a book together using a platform called KDP, which is Kindle Direct Publishing. I actually heard about this from Davo, and anybody that wants to can sign up for this as long as you can put a PDF together. And publish a book on Amazon. So it's available now, hardcover and paperback, and it's augmented reality. So the deal with that is that the book itself, I brought this as a little demo, and I'll try to cut this short. But basically, and this is another thing that I know Renata has been working with. I just want to show you this particular piece. Let's see. Well, I'll just pick one. So this is the book. This is the way it ends up being. Hardcover, it cost me about $15 a copy, and then you just sell whatever you want on Amazon. So when the work is viewed through the app, I don't know if you could sort of see it. Well, probably not on the camera. Let me see if I could get it a little closer.
We can see it a little. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting.
And
So
Speak
we're not
again so
hearing
that
the
you're in
sound.
speaker view.
what's that?
I'm sorry, I interrupted you because other people were talking and then I lost you in speaker view. So
Oh, okay.
whenever
So
someone else talks.
Gotcha. So yeah, and Artivive is also something that is, initially a free platform. I'd encourage you guys to check it out. It's an app, and then there's a companion website called Artivive Bridge, which is where you upload your still image, and which is, sort of like a trigger image, and then a video that's corresponding to that. And lastly, over the last, month or so, I started experimenting with the idea of drop shipping prints. So there's an outfit called Luma Prints, which is in California, and I've been proofing sheets of the prints, color correcting them. So I lay them all out on one sheet, and then I've been proofing it like on canvas, on various types of paper. They do Somerset velvet, and just trying to figure out a way that I could sell the work online in a way that's relatively affordable. And it's an experiment, but you guys might want to check that out too. One cool thing about Luma Prints is they integrate directly with other platforms like Shopify, Etsy, also through there's sort of like a connecting platform, ShipStation, that allows you to sell it through Amazon and other stuff. So the thing is, it's a pretty cool way to monetize your work if you can sell, put together prints. And kind of the game plan that I have is, once the orders come through, sending the collector a signed certificate of authenticity directly. That way, it's not just like basically a souped up poster, but the purchaser is actually going to get something that's signed by the artist. So I think that might be a decent business model. Certainly something that any of you guys who produce digital work could experiment with. Shopify has, a small monthly charge. Luma Prints does not. So at any rate, that's kind of like my little message about independence, is that, we as artists have the ability, especially digital artists, have the ability to commodify our work in a way that traditional artists do not. And, this group was sort of born out of the idea that we're not getting, as digital artists, a lot of mainstream support and acceptance, at least back a couple, before the NFT situation. That actually opened it up quite a bit for many people. But before that, it was extremely fringe. So I love the idea that Tommy brought up, interdependence. I mean, that's kind of like what this group is all about. And yeah, that's enough out of me. Thanks.
Oh, that was great, Colin. Thank you.
I
Yeah,
wanna-
I love the interdependence idea, and also having worked in top corporations myself in the 90s, that you learn about fonts and design and graphics and all these exactitudes of craftsmanship that mixing it with ideas and fine art. I mean, that's where Renaissances are. The first Renaissance was kind of bored of all that. I mean, people worked on these altarpieces, and there were always Michelangelos, and there are people who rise above, the cream goes to the top, but there was a huge collaborative atelier-like structure. And, it's not a sellout to work in corporate. it's one of the most exciting chapters of my life. And it influenced a lot of my fine art as well, because you're in the structure of life. You're right in it. And anyway, thank you. I really admire your work, Colin. You really have such a breadth. Thanks so much. And sharing those. I would love to, if you could share the Amazon publishing site. I'd appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'll drop some links in the chat for the different platforms I mentioned.
That would be great. Is there anyone else who would like to present? Oh, Renata, yeah, I see your hands up. Sorry.
Yes, I just wanted to make a quick shout out about Artivive or Artivive. Colin has an entire book where I aim my phone with the Artivive app on, and I get not only images that move, but music for each one. And currently, we have a number of works like that coming up in the Hello Brooklyn show, which Tommy Mintz is the chief curator of. My particular one is now live. So if you have Artivive on your phone and it's free, then you can just point it at a screen and trigger it. You don't have to have an object. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, would people like to have some, I could show a few images, but we don't have to make this any longer than it needs to be, or how long we want to be here. I want to share one image before we open it up myself. Oh, Stefan? I think you're muted. We still can't hear you.
I'm sorry, are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yes, it's been a fantastic.
Oh, is it Stephanie? Oh, I was talking to Stephen Carpenter, but Stephanie, go ahead.
It's been a fantastic, eye-opening experience for me seeing all of your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. It's great. She's been quite a incredible woman in the world of film as a professor, and a new friend of mine who I invited, and I'm so glad she could be here. But no, I was talking to, is it Stephen Carpenter who has his hand up? Did you want to say something? We can't hear you though. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the volume isn't working. We can come back to you though, if you want. Still not hearing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe press the volume up on your audio or something. I'm not sure. Check it out on Zoom. Does anybody else want to present? I'm going to probably present one or two little pieces before we open it up, but it won't be long. People can unmute if you want. If we're not, okay. Well, am I missing anybody? Speak up and unmute if I've missed you, but otherwise I'm going to share my screen really quickly. And this has been really great, but I do want to just share a little background as the moderator. Go to desktop one, share. I guess you see the big Zoom screen, and I'm going into something. Oh, all right. First of all, some of you, can you guys see Washington Pig on the screen?
Yes.
This is one of my, I have to say, when I was working, I started the first new media department for Deloitte in the World Trade Center. And at the time, I felt I was working in the heart of capitalism. I worked there for a decade off and on in digital. And I would go home at night, and this was done in 1995, and it's called Washington Pig. And it's kind of a celebration and a critique of capitalism. And you can see for sale in George Washington's eyes, the continent of Africa in his ear, which is something we're still wrestling with. It says honk if you love Jesus, has the word go in 15 different languages. Noam Chomsky is in here somewhere saying, the manufacture of consent. Everybody needs a house, a wife, and a dog. There are tons of little pig buttons and no dominion. It's a dollar bill kind of gone berserk, and it's all about capitalism. And it's really a celebration and a critique of capitalism, which is kind of at the heart of this country. And I was working in the heart of money at the World Trade Center for a long time. This is not an interactive diamond stake piece. You can't enter into it. But you know what? It's just one of my strong pieces, and I felt like it was appropriate for today's topic of independence. quickly, I'm gonna show a more recent iPad drawing of Ted Cruz. I'll go kind of fast here. This was my 2022. There is no happy. That was my July 4th. I put this up today and a few people thought it might be misconstrued, so I took it down because the name of this piece is Supreme Injustice. It's not me that's so happy, it's Ted Kavanaugh. I actually did it right when he was elected to the court, and I put it up today, but friends said that people might see it as not in the direction I'm talking about. And finally, I want to end with, oh, there are a few more. Here's Giuliani. Oh, I've been doing these drawings lately, and talk about Techspressionism. Lately, I have not been going digital of these, just pulling them right out of my 19 by 13 drawer of paper, taking out the Conti crayon, the pencils, and just going after these guys. I recently saw a show of, you know, the whole period of the Weimar Republic, of George Gross, Otto Dix, and they just inspired me so much. It's like they're looking at the heart of evil in some of their pieces, and I feel like I had to stop drawing Lincoln and Eleanor Roosevelt and just look at what I had to just get into it. So this is not, I mean, a pencil is a tool, you know, so and let's see who else. Oh, here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are just pictures of the pieces off the wall. I'm sorry, they're kind of granium. I'm used to like having things made right in the computer so I can show them to you perfectly, but they're about 19 by 13. Here's Ted Cruz. And they have these funny titles, like she says, "So happy, plus I'm a blonde." Ted Cruz is like, "Oh, I just love myself and only me." Giuliani is feeling the joy. And I think I'll finally end with my latest one of Mr. Trump himself. I can't call him president. This is called Trump Turkey Gobbler. And there you go. All right, I'm going to unshare. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a great session. Do people, we can open up our mics and
Hey,
yeah.
hi, Susan here. It's gonna be super hot here today, so I had to be outside getting some watering started before I could concentrate. But I would like to share one piece that I've done that I think is connected, and I've had trouble sharing recently from my iPad, so I'll try it. If it doesn't work, I have the link to the video in YouTube, and we'll try that. I shared this in the co-working group, and here, I want to get my video on so you can see me. I want to reinforce the positivity and importance currently in my work of the co-working Techspressionism group. It has supported, being part of that group has supported my work. I feel connected to people in ways that I didn't imagine. And I feel influenced in a caring and supportive way. I'm often given ideas that I go away from the group and think, oh, I think I might integrate that into my work. So I feel an interdependence in a very positive way with the co-working group. And I want to share a film that I have been working on over the past, I think, couple months that I shared and got a lot of positive feedback, and I just loved it. Okay, so I'm going to, everything's changed on the iPad once again. Okay, share. I'm going to try sharing. And as I said, if it doesn't work, I will then put a link in the, okay, optimize for. All right, so are you seeing my desktop?
Yes,
Yes, we
Wonderful. Are you seeing CapCut?
yes.
Oh,
Yep.
yay.
Good.
Okay. I'm going to go full screen and share this video. And hopefully you'll hear the sound. Also, I pushed the button for sound.
We're not seeing it.
Yeah, we're not seeing, we're just seeing your screen, CapCut, with a lot of different images on it.
Okay, let's try it a different way. Let's try it from here. See if it, do you see, are you seeing this? Are you seeing the film?
No, we're still
Okay.
seeing the CapCut. It says CapCut in the top left, and there are about 20 images or more than that.
Okay. This is what happened. This is what was happening. I don't know why in the Zoom it's not letting me do this. All right, so I'm going to try going to the chat and opening it from the chat. Hold on. I'm going to stop sharing. All right, I'm going to try this now, and maybe you'll see it and maybe you won't. We'll see. Are you seeing that YouTube?
I don't think you're sharing.
Okay, just a second. Yeah, I'm not sharing yet. All right. So many buttons to push. Okay, I'm working on it.
We understand. I put out all the lights in the Shangri-La Hotel in Singapore, like
The
back in
start broadcast. Okay. Right. Share screen. Okay, start. Okay, says it's broadcasting. All right. So now, do you see the YouTube?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. You see the big screen?
We do, with a little text underneath it, but yeah, we see the start button, the play button.
Okie dokie.
Good.
Here we go.
Susan, we're not seeing it.
Now we're hearing music, but the
Damn it.
play
Well,
button.
could
Susan,
somebody?
I have it up. I'm happy if you stop
Okay.
sharing, I'll just jump in and share.
Okay.
You're great
I
like
don't know
that. Thank you.
why it's. I'm pushing optimize for video, but it's not doing it.
It has to do, I think, with some of the permissions that we now have.
Okay. There might be
And
something I
when
need
it's-
to do ahead of time.
when it's being recorded. Are people seeing this?
Oh, because it's
Yep.
becoming recorded. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm glad you finally got it to work.
Yeah, well, thank
Oh,
you,
and thank you.
Cynthia.
Yeah, Cynthia's done that quite a few times, jumped in, and
Yeah.
that kind of cooperation in this group is something I love.
Yeah.
All
40
righty.
Yeah, thanks. I have to, I'm assuming I need to go into my settings, my Zoom settings in some pre-online in some way to make it so I can share when the video is being recorded. So anyway, thanks everybody. Yeah, it's a piece that is still speaking to me. I have not entirely verbalized what it's about entirely, but it does have influences about what's happening in our in our country, and some intertwining of the environmental crisis we are living, as well as the political crisis. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, we're getting to about 1:15. We have a few minutes here. Does anybody have any questions for anybody who was presenting today? You can either raise your hand or just unmic, and if nobody does, I have a question for Renata. Or not so much a question, but just, yeah, maybe you could talk a little about, you talked about the 4D and 3D kind of perspective that you're in. It's fascinating how you're moving in and out of the picture plane, and I'd like for you to talk about that if you would, just for a minute. I did want to add, from my own point of view, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because my interactive Diamondscape works, they were influenced actually by studies of Byzantine icons, and icons, instead of going to a 3D perspective where you go into the canvas, you know, from the Renaissance on, or even before, or, you know, Renaissance, and you have the vanishing point, you know, and it comes out. With icons, it goes the opposite. It's like the painting comes to you and the vanishing point is in the person. And that was one of the influences for my interactive pieces, the Diamondscapes, where you enter inside it. Sort of a different kind of Artivive or whatever that software is called, where I program the paintings where you go inside. But I wondered if following what I'm talking about, with that kind of difference of perspective that is happening, and with us using technical media and being able to immerse ourselves in this screen like that we're on today, if you could just talk about that for a minute. I don't know if it's a question, but I'd just love to hear a few more comments about it.
Well, I wanted to go back to something that Techspressionists were talking about at least a year and a half ago, breaking the boundaries of the frame.
Yeah.
I think Cynthia Beth Rubin has been working on that for a long time. And we had a panel discussion, and now this is, for me, completely, it's in French they say bouleversant, like you're completely turned over and around, because I can go anywhere in the 3D space, and every time I behave like the camera and I shoot what I'm seeing, I can get a totally different picture. So it's like having an infinite number of vanishing points, if you will, but from the point of view of the Byzantine icon.
Fascinating. Great. Thank you. That's very cool. Very, very cool. I love how we bring history into this, our studies, and, you know, things don't just come out of nothing. So thank you so much. Cynthia?
It sounds like we have our next topic, which is vanishing points.
That would be good. Yeah.
Or point of view, or, you know, you can come up with a better name, but it sounds like our next topic. And I think what's really great about that topic is that we need to look at non-Western wall painting and look at different ways of perceiving space. So it's an opening for that.
Yes. Wonderful. That'd be a great topic. And to that point,
sounds like a great introduction by a potential moderator, Cynthia.
Here
Hint,
you
hint.
I might be willing to work on that. We'll see. Not August, but Wait, this is July, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I can't do it.
Anyway, anybody else? Does anybody else have anything to say or to add today in our
I have a
topic?
question.
Cynthia?
Yes, I have a question. Renata, I'm also very interested, excuse my voice, in what you have accomplished. Is this 3D space where you have this sense of camera in the Everything Canvas software, or is it some other software?
It started when I was working in Mozilla Hubs with Siberiana. I'm not sure. Did you have work in Siberiana, Cynthia? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did. And I sensed,
Okay.
I sensed that you were, that was the 3D space. So is it the loop critique experience that?
Yes, the Mud Foundation supports the platform that I'm working on. It's an XR creator. And because I was a juror for Loop Art Critique, I spent 6 weeks there in the metaverse with Joey Zaza and about 5 other artists, plus the staff from Loop. And I became really comfortable meeting in the 3D twice a week for a couple of hours. So they offered me use of the space as an artist after the residency was finished.
Wonderful. I'm fascinated with the viewpoints that you were able to achieve and the extreme resolution that you're able to get. Bravo.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Is anybody able to hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Oh, wonderful. I just wanted to introduce myself, and how wonderful everything is, and how I feel like I'm a kindergartner with a whole bunch of stuff that I've got to explore. Quick thing. We were talking about interdependence today and dependence, and everybody stops at we the people. But look at the next few words. In order to form a more perfect union, which means which means for me, anyway, my sermon, that we are all in this together and it demands our work. It's in order to form a more perfect union. And unfortunately, the people who really don't want to have the Constitution hang around anymore can forget that and insert their own will and make us all be something else. And that's the real battle right now. Because after the more perfect union is life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, whatever the hell that means. But it certainly doesn't mean me giving my whole life to somebody who doesn't want it. And that's the end of that. So if I can take one more minute, I'll say that my background, like just about everybody else's, is design and painting, because my background goes back to the late 60s. However, I lost the sight of my eye, my right eye, temporarily in 2017, which meant that I had to work totally in digital, because otherwise there would be nothing happening and I'd go insane. So that's how I've gotten here. And I'm so pleased to hear about all of this stuff, because it's stuff that I'm trying to do myself. And I'm glad that I've got friends. Anyway, so my background is art and music. So not only do I do the visuals, but I also am able to write the music that goes with it. And that has been a kind of a weird thing. So maybe later on, when we get to the multiple viewpoints and things like that, I might have some stuff to present. But anyway, I'm Stephen Carpenter and I'm in Central New York, and I'm so glad I was able to get here today.
Welcome. Thank you, Stephen. It's great to hear from you. Yeah, and there is a procedure that I think Colin might want to speak to for a minute about how this works, or I can talk to it, Colin. You know, that if you want to be, you're on the list now, or you should be, I think. And we meet once a month. And if you do want to present, we usually do 5 to 10 minutes timing. Usually there are more people, and you just come a few minutes before, like 15 for like 11:45.
And make sure
And,
everything works.
Yeah, make sure everything works and, just share the screen and all that.
Yeah.
So it's really pretty easy,
Okay.
but welcome. Yes.
Very good.
Does anybody else have a comment, or I might just say a few words and then pass it over to Colin? Yeah, Sherry, hi. Yeah.
Hi, I have a question for either Renata.
Oh, Lucy, excuse me. Yeah.
Either Renata or Colin. Last time I was using Arlupa and Artivive a few years ago, the artist who was posting animations and images on their platforms had to pay a monthly subscription. So if you have a book that's going to be out there in print for years, Colin, are you having to like pay monthly to have the augmented reality effects for people looking at your book?
Yeah, it basically is a paid platform, although there's multiple levels. So, I believe there is a free kind of level where you can have up to, they eliminated that, Renata. Yeah, there used to be. But, I mean, to me, that's kind of like the cost of doing business. I mean, it hasn't really paid for itself yet, but ultimately, the AR aspect has resulted in the sale of like larger physical pieces. So I think that, for me, it's worthwhile. I don't think there's really going to be a point where it's something that's free because it has to be running on a server somewhere. That being said, I think it's possible that like QR codes, it could be integrated into mobile operating systems at some point. It used to be that you had to download a special app to view a QR code, and pretty much no one used QR codes until iOS and Android operating systems incorporated them, directly into the camera app. So I don't know exactly how that could possibly work, but I think down the road that is plausible. But yeah, for now, it is a paid platform. And there's also other stuff with Artivive where they offer sale of the work through their own commerce platform, but I think it's based in the UK. So footnote on that, but yeah.
And how much is it a month? Is it like $10 or are you talking like $30?
I'm paying 13.90 euros, like almost 14 euros for a month. That's the lowest, cheapest tier.
Good. Thank you. Thanks.
Sure. Well, thank you, everyone. This was a really great session, and I want to say that yeah, I appreciate everybody's input. And it's funny, but I agree with John Avlon, who's out here running in the 1st district as a Democrat, and I agree with him that we can't let anyone take our flag from us, or our religion, actually. I must say, as someone who is a big Jesus person, but I'm an interfaith minister, the whole idea of this Christian nationalism really makes me just like, it's a travesty, seriously, that it's just as far from Jesus as anything I've ever seen. So there's that, and no man or woman is above the law in this country. And even if we know that things are done incorrectly and the presidents have a lot of power, what we're up against now is like nothing else. And I won't, like John Avlon said, no one can take my flag from me. It's funny, but if you wear a flag these days, sometimes people think that, you can't possibly be a Democrat, and that just is not true. And that's why I have all these flags here today, because I believe in what at least we've messed up a lot of things, but the United States Constitution is a radical experiment in democracy. And I hope we can keep it. And I just love being with you artists doing these amazing things. It's really, really inspirational. And it's been a great session. So thanks so much. Colin, is there going to be an after session for those who want to stay, or are we going to celebrate July 4th, or what's up?
Yeah, so I mean, I personally have to take off pretty soon after the recording stops, which will be, I mean, we still have a little bit of time because we started 5 minutes after, but if we're able to accomplish it during the recorded session, the main thing that I always try to get done in the after party is essentially establishing a topic for the next salon and a moderator. If we can take care of that little piece of business now, then that would be great. So someone's on the record. But yeah, does anyone have a
Well, I think
know,
that Cynthia, can you do it? The one that we talked about, the point of view or vanishing point or perspectives?
Yeah, I mean, I could pull that together, except that we pretty much covered a lot of it. I don't know how many other people are interested in it, so maybe that's an after party talk, because it might be good to wait a few months and revisit it where, people
I
who
see.
talked about it today.
Yeah,
could
right, because we did have some immersive content here quite a bit. Or different, that's true.
It's the focal point, it's the perspective idea. But if a lot of other people suddenly are going, oh yeah, that's what I deal with. And I am particularly interested in the idea of people deliberately looking at non-Western wall painting and non-wall painting, whatever, and looking at different ways of thinking about space.
I like that you mentioned perspective. I think that as a topic, perspective could work really well because it could be very open-ended. And I tend towards single word topics for salons. I just think it leaves it very open for interpretation. And if you'd be willing to to take the helm with that, that would be awesome. The next salon is actually August 1st, which is the first Thursday of the month. That actually works out really well. I was nervous it was going to fall right when the Brooklyn exhibition is opening. So, people could also talk about if they're participating in the show, how the work that they're showing might relate to that topic. But I would like to make a motion that the next topic would be perspective, and I would like to nominate Cynthia Beth Rubin to be the moderator. So do we have a second?
Well, can I do a little PS to this? You mentioned it right before the Brooklyn show. Maybe we would consider doing preview of the Brooklyn show, because if there really are 70 artists in that show, it might be useful to do a little preview before we go. Those are
Or maybe afterward though, or how about
Yeah, I was thinking about that, Cynthia, and I think it would be really good to have something, while the show is up. Like I know that we did that with Southampton, where I think it was you, Roz, right? You did a walkthrough in situ, and we streamed it into the Zoom. I mean, that was really cool. I think the Brooklyn show is going to run into the first week of September, I believe. So I think it would be good to do the Brooklyn, to talk about the work in the Brooklyn show when the exhibition is open. That way people could show, images of the work installed. Maybe there'll be documentation of the exhibition at that point that we could share with the rest of the world. You know what I mean? Because I was thinking the same thing, actually. But I think it just might make sense to do that like when the show is up. So if people are watching it live and they happen to be in the tri-state area, they could just come down and hopefully see the exhibition. I mean, that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, so my 2 cents about that is that when you go to an exhibition that has that many people and that many pieces, it may be that you spend all your time just socializing and not looking so much. So if you have a little idea of what to look for. But for those people who are not going to make it to the show at all because they might be in Australia or whatever, yeah, we're still recording, by the way. So
yeah,
that's just my point of view. Otherwise, yeah, I could put something together for August 1st. If that's what we really want, I'm gonna look at my
I vote
calendar.
for perspective and keep the surprise of the show. So that people, I think it's kind of nice. Tommy would like people who can get there. I'm going to be going with a few friends, to at least make the effort to get to the show. He's put a lot of work into it. So I just feel that it's kind of better to do it after, even though I get your point, but.
Oh, and so for those of you viewing at home, it's the details for this show is online or are online at techspressionism.com/Brooklyn. This will be the last little bit to share, but I'm just going to share my screen anyway because this will be the last salon before the opening. So techspressionism.com/Brooklyn. You can see this beautiful piece by Renata, and there's a press release and some other information about the exhibition, Google Map, all that good stuff. And you could also get there from the Techspressionism homepage. There's a, that's the back end. Nothing to see here. So yeah, on the homepage, there's a link here as well as to the open call for the Mauna exhibition.
I think we will have a salon though, won't we? I mean, Cynthia's salon would be before it opens because she's
Yeah,
on
yeah. I just wanted to put a little plug
Oh,
in
no,
there for
great.
the show so people could see it on YouTube, you know, and get the information if they want to learn. But Cynthia, if you're willing to do it, then I would keep that motion open. If Roz, you want to be a second, I'm not going to speak for you though, Cynthia.
I'll be a second.
Yeah, I think I could probably do that. I haven't put in my calendar when I'm going to be on the Cape, but you know, I can do, I guess if I'm on the Cape, I'll do it from the Cape.
Fantastic. And this will be your first salon, right? Moderating it?
I think the Borders one I did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Actually, I'm not going to be on the Cape then anyway. So wherever I am. Okay.
Awesome.
I just want to say to anybody who's listening who uses different kinds of perspective, please think about this. Think about it in the broader sense.
I'll definitely be submitting something, Cynthia. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
This is a topic I love, and I will be on the road on August 1st. So maybe I'll just submit my book or something.
Well, if you're on the road, you might still be able to join in. Wi-Fi is everywhere.
I know, but I'm going to be in a car. I mean, I am going to be traveling. So anyway, I'll catch it afterward. Maybe another time perspective will come around again. And the only reason I'm mentioning it is a friend of, well, my old prof and I got together, and it was embarrassing because it was public, but we came up with 19 viable historic things called perspective that are usable and that are historic and presentable. So everybody stops at linear perspective, but that's just the beginning. And I'm very, very interested in it because of the Byzantine and non-Western kinds of work. And anyway, I'll see you after August 1st is what I'm going to say.
Okay, I just want to remind you, Starbucks is everywhere.
Pull over for an hour and a half and you'll be all set.
If only I could get all of the other people that are traveling with me to do that as well.
All right, guys, we probably should cut this recording now, but so we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of perspective, moderated by Cynthia?
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We have a salon, we have a moderator, August 1st. Thanks everyone for presenting. Thank you, Roz, for taking the lead, and I look forward to seeing you all hopefully at the next salon, and maybe some of you a week later in Brooklyn. So and big shout out to Tommy for organizing that. It's a ton of work, and muchas gracias. So with that, we will stop recording in 3, 2, 1 and cut.